When people search for a crypto investment, be they beginners or have invested in the past, the first thing they have in mind is how to get rich overnight. In other words, how high will the value rise in the next future? Out of a group of 100 possible crypto investors, only one, or maybe two, or maybe none of them may care to ask which one is the best. While many people are rich from crypto trading, some also went bankrupt. But generally, the market is bullish, and we'd like to think that it will keep bullish for many years to come. Lots of new traders or investors are looking for the next big thing. There are over 1.7 thousand cryptocurrencies available today based on CoinMarketCap. However, many of those 1.7 thousand coins or tokens are actually scam, worthless, or outright dead without any development. Since you are a newcomer, let's look at the facts, which no one can fight against.
If you've been doing research on cryptocurrencies, ICOs, and altcoins, you've probably run into the words proof of work and proof of stake. Well, what is that all about? We're about to break it down for you right now. Proof of work is all about trust, or actually absence of trust. Because of blockchain technology, you don't have to trust anyone. Okay, let's do a quick recap on the blockchain. Your Visa, MasterCard, bank transactions are centralized systems, meaning you must trust one company or entity because they have all of the history of your transactions, your centralized ledger. When a transaction goes through a centralized ledger, it is verified by the central server. Because of double entry systems, if you have $100 in your bank account, you can't send 200. This is because the central server has your transaction history and knows exactly how much you have. With the blockchain, everything is decentralized, meaning you don't have to trust anyone. And everyone has a copy of all transactions, the decentralized ledger. When a transaction goes through a decentralized ledger, it must be verified by the network, also called distributed consensus. However, your transaction lives with all the other transactions happening in real time in something called a block. But all transactions on the block must be verified through something called mining. Now, we're getting into proof of work. A transaction cannot be verified all willy-nilly and right away. It needs to be solved. What does that mean? Imagine each transaction as a cryptographic puzzle piece, and thousands upon thousands of transactional puzzle pieces come together to form a block. This entire block needs to be solved. The process of solving that puzzle, or solving the block, is called mining. If you Google Bitcoin mining, you'll see people with hundreds upon hundreds of computers mining for Bitcoin. They're all trying to solve these blocks using vast computing power. Why do some miners have a ton of computers solving the blocks? Well, because the more computers you have, the faster you can solve the blocks, and it results in money. However, there's a downside. In the process of mining, miners are using tons of resources. First, they're buying expensive hardware called ASICs, or application-specific integrated circuits, and then they use electricity that burns off as heat. They can't let the computers overheat, so in some cases fans are installed to cool down the hardware, so you end up using even more electricity. It's a vicious cycle. But all of that energy is used to solve the block, and after that block is solved, that block gets added to the public blockchain. Some miners have even located their mining operations in Iceland to take advantage of the cheap geothermal energy. So, it's a vicious cycle of resources. But why waste all these resources just to solve the blocks? Well, first, it's to validate each transaction. What's the point of having a cryptocurrency if you can't use it as a currency? And second, you get rewarded. But why even mine at all? Why solve these block puzzles? It's all about security. Just think, more miners equals more security. So that's proof of work. It involves the process of mining so that we could validate transactions. The miners get their reward, and another block gets added to the public blockchain. So, what is proof of stake? We got Ethereum getting ready to move to proof of stake on the horizon. What is it? One thing. Wealth. Let me explain. In proof of stake, miners are instead called validators. There is a block that needs to be generated, and there are 4 validators. Each validator deposits their money to the blockchain to get the opportunity to validate or sign a block. Validator 1 has the most money. He takes up 38% of the block. Validator 2 has a 25% stake. Validator 3 has 21%,
and validator 4 has 16%.
With mining, the chances you had of solving the block was dependent on the hardware that you have. But in proof of stake, the bigger your stake, the bigger the chance you have of solving the block.
So, if you're validator 1, you have a 38% chance of solving the block. After some random calculations, validator 1 with the largest stake wins and gets to sign the block. Validator 1 is rewarded not with new coinage, but with transaction fees.
So that's proof of stake. It's dependent on how much you're willing to stake to solve the block. Now, is proof of stake better? Well, let's take a look at these 4 facts. Number 1, proof of stake is actually a lot more environmentally friendly than mining. With proof of work, all the hardware that you're using to compute and mine actually burns up a lot of energy. While proof of work requires miners to effectively burn computational power on useless calculations to secure the network, proof of stake effectively stimulates the burning, so no real-world energy or resources are ever actually wasted. Number 2, with proof of work, new coins can only be generated by solving blocks. And for Bitcoin, the coin supply maxes out at 21 million, which is supposed to happen 100 years from now. Number 3, proof of stake discourages centralized cartels. Right now, Bitcoin has a lot of mining cartel problems, which is causing the hard fork, soft fork crisis. If you go to blockchain.info/pools, as of today, you will see that the top 10 mining pools control 83.1% of the Bitcoin mining power. And out of the 10 mining pools, 8 of them are located in China. That's my people. But there are way too many mining cartels that have too much power. Proof of stake would prevent that. And number 4, proof of stake makes a 51% attack virtually impossible. And what is a 51% attack? Here's a quick rundown. Let's say that there are 100 nodes in a network. In a 51% attack, a bad actor must control 51% of the network to implement an attack or hard fork the blockchain so that it benefits him. However, with proof of work mining, this is done by having more raw computing power than 51% of the entire network. That's a very large energy expense. With proof of stake, a validator would have to control at least 51% of all of the digital currency in existence, which would make it very expensive. Going back to how the rich get richer. The idea is that the validator with a large stake can A, contribute to the security of the cryptocurrency, and B, will not endanger his large stake by manipulating the blockchain. By doing so, he will devalue his stake or even lose it altogether. And this all leads back to making proof of stake much more secure and much more stable.
So the difference between proof of work and proof of stake are quite significant. Proof of stake doesn't let everyone mine for new blocks and therefore uses considerably less energy. It's also more decentralized. How is that? Well, in proof of work, we have something called mining pools. Those are people who are teaming up to increase their chances of mining a new block and thus collecting a reward. However, these pools now control large portions of the Bitcoin blockchain. They centralize the mining process, and that could be very dangerous. If the 3 biggest mining pools would merge together, they would have a majority in the network and could start approving fraudulent transactions. Another important advantage is that setting up a node for a proof of stake based blockchain is a lot less expensive compared to a proof of work based one. You don't need expensive mining equipment, and thus proof of stake encourages more people to set up a node, making the network more decentralized and also more secure. But even proof of stake isn't perfect, and it also has some flaws. Now you might think, hold on a minute, if I buy a majority stake in the network, I can effectively control it and approve fake transactions. And you would be correct. This is called the 51% attack, and it was first discussed as a weak point of the proof of work algorithm. If a single miner or group of miners can obtain 51% of the hashing power, they can effectively control the blockchain. Proof of stake, on the other hand, makes this attack very impractical depending on the value of a cryptocurrency. If Bitcoin would be converted to proof of stake, acquiring 51% of all the coins would set you back a whopping $79 billion. So the 51% is actually less likely to happen with proof of stake. But that's not the only risk. Proof of stake algorithms also have to be careful how they select the next validator. It cannot be completely random because the size of the stake has to be factored in. But at the same time, the stake alone isn't enough because that will favor rich people who will get chosen more frequently, will collect more transaction fees, become even richer, and thus increase their chances of being chosen as a validator even further.
Verticoin Plus new Bitcoin talk announcement was published on April the 2nd, 2017 following the closure of the old one by the Verticoin community. The original Verticoin chain was known with the ticker VTA, was launched by an unknown person who immediately abandoned the project after launch back in July 2014. The original Verticoin chain had lots of errors. Attempts to fix such errors was unsuccessful, and moving to a new and clean chain made more sense. Verticoin community holders have taken its fate in its own hands. Back in March 2017, there was a swap from VTA to XVP following the move to a new chain with the name Verticoin Plus and XVP ticker. Holders of the old Verticoin who embraced the idea of swap their old coins to XVP at a ratio of 1,000 VTAs to 1 XVP. The new chain is using XVP ticker. X represent the X algorithm family, V represent Verticoin, the original, P represent Plus. The new chain is based upon X11 algorithms for proof of work with added the proof of stake functionality. Therefore, P comes from a big plus in technical updates to the new era of cryptocurrencies. Currently, we can trade XVP on TradeSachi, Nidbex, ByteBTC, and Nova Exchange platforms. XVP is one of the few cryptocurrencies who utilize hybrid systems which balance between proof of work and proof of stakes to achieve distributed consensus. It means that people can choose whether they want to mine XVP, proof of work, or staking it by letting their wallet unlock and act as a node proof of stake. Being a hybrid system, XVP solves many of the issues associated with pure proof of work or proof of stake. With the new hybrid system, a block can either be a proof of work block or a proof of stake block added to the chain. We can find out which block system is currently active by visiting the Block Explorer. When the current block is from proof of work, staking is automatically deactivated. When the block changes to proof of stake, staking will be activated again. Another big advantage of using hybrid proof of work and proof of stake is the fact that it is nearly impossible to get 51% network attack. The attack on proof of work blocks will cause the chain to retarget, thus resulting to only temporary control of the blocks. Meanwhile, attack on proof of stake blocks will require astronomical amounts of money. By using this system, XVP is way more secure to 51% network attack than the other coins which purely use either proof of work or proof of stake consensus. Security. The algorithm uses 11 hashing functions from the Blake algorithm to the KECAC algorithm, which provide huge security needed for coins that do so well for CPUs. Effectiveness. X11 gives amazingly fast hashes for both GPUs and CPUs. It also keeps GPUs over 30% cooler, making your expensive graphic cards less prone to overheating. The reason graphic cards don't require as much processing power in order to mine XVP. XVP has a maximum supply cap of 100 million coins that will ever be available. Out of the total possible supply of 9 million XVPs were pre-mined and used for swapping VTA for XVP back in March 2017 at the ratio of 1,000 to 1. Total coins in circulation today stands at almost 12 million coins. In short, we the people here at XVP seek out long and short-term investors who understand that Rome was not built in one day. We believe XVP is a hidden gem, a diamond in the rough. Our main goal is to bring this gem to the masses. We are very optimistic here at XVP. We know that sooner or later the masses will discover this gem and migrate to this system.